What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Open Great League submitted to the channel by MaxiPad, who's running Shadow Toucannon, a Pokemon that recently released in its Shadow form, and a Pokemon that's getting a huge double buff next season, with Peck becoming a predicted Shadow Claw clone, and Drill Peck also dealing more damage. Now these battles were actually sent in before any information about next season's move update had come out, so it'll be interesting to see how this Pokemon performs in its current state, where unfortunately it is ranked 878th for the Open Great League, according to PvPoke. Now, MaxiPad is pairing it with two much more usable Shadow Pokemon in Dragonite and Typhlosion, so with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Which currently useless Pokemon are you most excited to try out next season after the big move update? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Setting into the first battle, leading Shadow Toucannon into Toedscruel. This is a great lead matchup for us. The opponent is going to be safe swapping into Shadow Drapion. We do not have a direct response, so potentially going to look to stay in here, tank a charge move as they fire off the Arcatel. That's just an Arcatel, but that does nearly all of our HP already. We're going to fire for Drill Peck. Drill Peck is going to grab a shield advantage, but probably going to need to shield straight away with the Shadow Dragonite here to preserve some HP. The opponent is going to full send the Crunch this time around, dropping our defense, which is unfortunate. Now we will fire off a Dragon Claw. So from this range, of course, Dragon Claw will be taking out that Shadow Drapion. The opponent's going to come in with the Dene, which is not ideal for us in the slightest. We tried to go for a superpower straight away, looking to throw on CMP if they were to throw a Parabolic Charge, but instead the opponent tanks the charge move, goes for a full farm down, and honestly, it's not looking too good for us here. So at this point, we're going to come in with the Shadow Typhlosion. We're actually going to no-shield this, and the opponent is actually going to allow a full farm down. Now, we need to swap out straight away here. As the opponent comes back in with the Toedscruel, we're going to reach a Drill Peck here, but Drill Peck will just grab the final shield, and we need Typhlosion to get damage registration error, which is able to do so. And Blast Burn easily gets the one-shot there, and we're able to take that game. So, heading into the next battle, we're going to see Toucannon into a Swampert. So this is a great lead matchup for us. The opponent is actually going to choose to stay in initially before recognizing that Bullet Seeds are doing big damage. Now, they swap into Fortress. Interestingly, we're not swapping straight away into Typhlosion. Instead, going for a Drill Peck first, which I'm not so sure about, just because you can see these Incinerates absolutely shred through this thing. They do still reach a charge move, just a Sand Tomb, which we can tank. However, now Toucannon is energy dry, and the opponent is going to get a massive Mudshot farm down. We do at least grab a shield back from the Swampert, which is definitely handy for us, but we are now going to come in with our Shadow Dragonite, recognizing, of course, if they don't have access to Sludge, then Hydro Cannon is going to be resisted, and it doesn't do too much damage, although a second Hydro Cannon will actually get the KO. So we're going to shield this up here. We're then going to look to snipe with the Toucannon, but the opponent does bank, well, a little bit of HP on their Swampert. We're actually going to full send a Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon doesn't actually do as much damage as maybe you'd hope, but still respectable damage, and what it does do is it forces the opponent to throw their energy. Stone Edge gonna get the KO, but we can now just come in with our Shadow Dragonite. We've got to be wary of a potential catch attempt from the opponent, but if they're not able to make a catch, then we should be looking fine. We should outpace them to the next charge move here. The opponent fires off Stone Edge. They do swap back into Swampert just to be fully farmed down, and the opponent recognizing we're gonna reach a charge move, and so they just concede the match. Alright, so heading into the next battle, we're going to see Shadow Toucannon into Greninja. So this should be an okay matchup for us because we do have Bullet Seed. However, you can see Bullet Seeds, they're non-stab. It's not the hardest hitting move ever. So actually, they're dealing about the same amount of damage with their Water Shurikens as we're dealing with our own fast moves. Although the opponent is going to lag massively here. So we're going to bank 100 energy. They do finally swap out of there. I don't really know what happened. Quite interesting that we are submitting this battle after all of that lag. But anyways, we're going to fire for Dragon Claw there. The opponent is going to shield, and it's actually a CMP tie. So Crunch is going to connect. It is going to allow them to fully farm us down, but we do have 100 energy on the Toucannon, so we're going to take advantage of that. Drill Peck is going to be no-shielded. It gets the KO there. And do they know about Flash Cannon? We are full sending it right off the bat here. And Flash Cannon is unfortunately shielded by the Credilli. Of course, they're going to shield the first move. It is obviously a Credilli. They're going to debuff us with a Rock Tomb, so probably should have baited there. But either way, we should be looking fine. The opponent tries to come back in and catch a charge move. Does not work out. And once again, a failed catch is instantly followed by an instant concede from the opponent's end there, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Annihilate. So based on typings, like, we should be okay here. However, you can see these counters are shredding through us. We go straight for Drill Peck. Drill Peck is going to be shielded by the opponent. At this point, yeah, you definitely just no shield. Unfortunately, Rage Fist not going to get the KO there, so instead of just allowing us to be fully farmed down, we will actually swap into our Shadow Dragonite. Luckily for us, no hard answer from the opponent in the back, so the opponent going to go for another Rage Fist, boosting up their attack, and just resisted counters, gets Dragonite incredibly low to the point where, unfortunately, we're not going to reach 2 charge moves here. Dragon Claw is going to be shielded by the Shadow Giratina, and now it's all up to Shadow Typhlosion, which, of course, can only hit for resisted damage. Now, opponent is going to go for an Ancient Power there, which means we probably can overfarm, and we are going to do exactly that. So we overfarm, we fire off the Blast Burn gets the KO there, and Typhlosion once again allowed to get to that Blast Burn there when maybe we shouldn't have, and Blast Burn gets the one shot, and we're able to take that game. I was going to say damage registration error, however, it looked like that was a one-turn bring in lag from the opponent's end, which is why we were able to reach the charge speed. But anyways, into the next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Giratina in the lead. We're going to no shield here, and this is just going to be a Dragon Claw, but that does big damage. It doesn't put us into farm down range. However, once again, we're not going for Drill Peck. Instead, we are full sending the Flash Cannon, dealing huge damage. Unfortunately, just barely not enough damage to get the KO. So at this point, we're actually just going to play out the zero shield scenario, come in with Typhlosion and get a fully resisted Incinerate farm down, and they're going to come in with a Lapras. So at this point, of course, we farmed up a ton of energy, gonna fire off that Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch is going to be shielded. We're now going to overfarm. The opponent doesn't throw on the best timing here, which should allow us to reach 2 more Thunder Punches before the opponent does get to another Sparkling Aria. So at this point, we are back-to-back moves here. Thunder Punch is going to be shielded by the Lapras. We can just fire off that next Thunder Punch straight away. Thunder Punch is going to actually just barely not get the KO, but we snipe with Shadow Dragonite, and the opponent's going to have a Shadow Scissor in the back now. Obviously, the safe play is just a shield here. Potentially, that is one Incinerate farm down range for the Typhlosion, but we're going to play it safe. We're going to go straight for the Superpower. Superpower, of course, will be enough to get the KO there. Not really sure why we swapped out of the app at that point in time whilst we were throwing a charge move, but anyways, we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see another Shadow Giratina in the lead, and again, they are on not Dragon Breath, they're on Shadow Claw here, so we're going to no-shield this, as once again, they fire off that Dragon Claw straight away, and again, we're going to go straight for the Flash Cannon, so potentially this might even be the same battle. It kind of looks like it so far, as it does connect, and the opponent once again going to throw straight away, so playing out exactly the same as the previous battle. Dragon Claw gets the KO, and once again, because they throw straight away, we can come in, get that Incinerate farm down, and let's see what the opponent does. They're actually going to come in with Lapras, so I feel like this is the same battle. However, I am recognizing that is a different avatar on the opponent's end there, so it must just be the same team. I don't know if someone put out a video with this team here, but either way, we're playing this out exactly the same as the previous battle. It looks identical so far, but we go for back-to-back Thunder Punches. Thunder Punch does grab that final shield. So far, everything is literally the same here, except Thunder Punch is actually going to get the KO this time around, and it was a Shadow Scissor in the back, so very interesting there. Surely that is a content creator team. If you know which team it is, let me know who made that team in the comment section down below. But anyways, pretty similar result here as we go for that Superpower, getting the KO up against the Scissor, and we're able to take that game. Alright, so heading into the next battle, we see Shadow Toucannon into Talonflame. Now, actually, Toucannon's recommended moveset is with Rock Blast, but I feel like Talonflame is pretty much the only Pokemon where Rock Blast is useful, of course. Rock is a decent typing offensively, but Rock Blast itself is not a great charge move. And actually, Drill Peck up against neutral situations where Rock Blast is going to be super effective, I believe only does like 1 or 2 less damage. So, for the most part, it's basically not really necessary. But anyways, we swap into our Typhlosion. We're grabbing both shields from the opponent. However, the opponent has farmed up a ton of energy and likely will grab both shields back from the Shadow Dragonite. And here the opponent is able to reach back-to-back charge moves, so they are going to grab both our shields back, but Shadow Dragonite going to get a full farm down, but the opponent actually does not allow that, instead swapping into Venusaur, but Toucannon able to reach the Drill Peck here. Drill Peck is going to easily one-shot that Venusaur, and let's see, the opponent's going to come in with a Charger Bug, but we will reach the charge move. The opponent going to throw straight away, which is fine with us, as we go straight for the Drill Peck. Drill Peck is going to connect. It does huge damage there, all shields down on both ends right now. The opponent is actually going to go for an X-Scissor there, which does allow them more farm, which is a smart play, but the opponent tries to catch the charge move there. It does not work out. Shadow Dragonite over farming here, doesn't really need to, but either way, Dragon Claw gets the KO, and we're able to take that game. So, heading into the next battle, we're going to see Shadow Toucannon into a shiny Shadow Marowak. So, this is another great lead for the Toucannon. Although, I wouldn't be surprised if we still don't actually win this in the one-shield scenario. We're going to no-shield. They do just go straight for Bone Club, which is perfectly fine with us. That is resisted damage, but the opponent is going to catch a Drill Peck onto a Drapion. Drill Peck is going to do huge damage there. We're actually going to fire off a second Drill Peck straight away. Drill Peck number 2 should be grabbing a shield at this point, and now we've grabbed that shield advantage. We're swapping out into our Shadow Typhlosion, and at this point, we're actually going to no-shield this. We can tank a Crunch or an Aquatel, but that does put us into farm down range, basically just fully sacrificing the Typhlosion. I'm not really sure if I agree with that decision, but we can go for a Thunder Punch here. Thunder Punch is double resisted and non-stab. It really doesn't do much damage. However, now we can come in with the Shadow Dragonite, shield once, and then likely go for a full farm down, but the opponent's going to have a Talonflame in the back. So Shadow Dragonite is going to be able to very comfortably sweep this game here, farming up too close to back-to-back charge moves. First Dragon Claw grabs that final shield, and a second Dragon Claw probably gets the KO from this range up against the Talonflame, and now we can actually swap back into Toucannon because it is a Shadow Toucannon showcase, but the opponent just concedes the match. Alright, so heading into the next battle, you can see Shadow Toucannon into Swampert once again. So once again, a great lead matchup for that Shadow Toucannon. These Bullet Seeds are going to be chunking. We're looking to throw on good timing, but the opponent is actually going to throw on very good timing here. And Hydro Cannon nearly gets the one shot. So actually, just going to play out the zero shield scenario, which I don't mind because we do have Shadow Dragonite in the back. And actually, we're able to reach another charge move here. We're going to either grab both shields or get the KO and grab a shield from the Swampert. And we are able to grab both shields. We can now come in with that Shadow Dragonite, and we still don't need to shield here, as the opponent is actually going to be on Hydro Cannon and not Sludge there, so I guess we can just shield up the next charge move here. The opponent is going to fire for the next Hydro Cannon, but that's okay. The opponent's going to swap into Fortress. We can respond straight away with our Shadow Typhlosion, and we actually don't even want to get hit by a Sand Tomb this time. Firing off the Thunder Punch, getting that KO instantly, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent's going to come back in with the Swampert just to be fully farmed down there. And their final Pokemon is actually a Shadow Whiscash. So interesting. ABA double Mud Boy team here. Honestly, I kind of like it from the opponent's end, but luckily for us, we've still got Shadow Dragonite in the back. We're going to shield this up here. We can actually just shield and then go for a full farm down, but playing it safe, we're going to fire off that Dragon Claw. Going to hit no bubbles. Dragon Claw still gets the KO, and we're able to take that game. Alright, so heading into the next battle, we can see Shadow Toucannon into a Drifblim. So this is a bit of an awkward matchup for both teams, really, as of course, both fast moves are going to be resisted. We're going to look to throw on CMP. I don't mind that whatsoever. Drill Peck is going to deal big damage if it does connect, and it does. We can now shield this and potentially swap into either Pokemon in the back just to deal some nice damage, but the opponent actually swaps out at the same time into Dedenne. So at this point, we are going to shield up a Parabolic Charge. Parabolic Charge, of course, going to boost up the defense here. We're actually going to bait with a Thunder Punch, which after that boost probably does not get the KO here. And the opponent actually calls the bait. However, it doesn't really matter too much as we can reach a second Thunder Punch and we will still get rid of Dedenne. But they're going to have a Morpeko in the back. So a very interesting team on the opponent's end here. We're going to fire off another Thunder Punch. This time we are going to grab a shield. And the opponent not going to overfarm too much here. Not looking to take another Incinerate worth of damage. They full send the Aura Wheel. At this point, are we going to come in with our Dragonite, or will we just basically sacrifice the Toucannon? We're going to come in with Dragonite, we're going to swap, we're going to catch the charge move onto our Toucannon, and that should be game over. I think Drifblim probably in range where we can Dragon Breath farm them down, and Morpeko is going to be exactly the same here. The opponent recognizing that, and so they just concede the match. So, going into the next battle, we can see another Talonflame in the lead. So, going to fire off one Bullet Seed, then swapping into Shadow Typhlosion. I don't mind that, as that will still allow us to outpace them to that first charge move. Thunder Punch, going to hit for super effective damage, so it grabs an early shield. And the opponent's now going to swap into Azumarill. We're actually overfarming massively here, baiting like we've potentially got a Solar Beam. This might grab a shield here. Thunder Punch is unfortunately no shielded, but we can reach a second Thunder Punch. Does this get the KO, or will we force both shields? Unfortunately, very well calculated on the opponent's end there, recognizing they would live that. Now, weirdly, we come in with our Shadow Dragonite. That is an interesting play for sure. But we can now Dragon Breath, farm them down, double resisted, come out with a little bit of residual energy here, and we will actually still reach a charge move, firing off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is going to be shielded, and we throw on CMP. At this point, we're going to no-shield this. The opponent does go for Fly. Fly barely does not get the KO, but they've got Shadow Annihilate in the back. So the opponent ends up throwing on really poor timing, and that is huge for us. That gives us a full Bullet Seed in for free. We can now farm up to back-to-back Drill Pecks here. The first one will very easily take out Shadow Annihilate, and then a second Drill Peck should be enough damage to take out the Talonflame, and it does exactly that, and we're able to take that game. Alright, so heading into the next battle, you can see Shadow Dragonite in the lead. This is a really awkward matchup for us. We're going to stay in this lead matchup here, and we're only going to reach one charge move before they fully Dragon Breath farm us down. But Drill Peck coming through is going to be shielded, and they actually throw on CMP, Toucannon winning CMP. We're actually going to shield this. I'm not really sure I agree with that, but I guess if you don't shield there, at what point can you shield in the battle? So at this point, the opponent comes in with a Ferrothorn. That is perfectly fine with us. We can go for Superpower. Superpower is going to grab that final shield from the opponent. And now we do have the opportunity to come back in with Toucannon and get a little bit of energy, or we might just come in with the Typhlosion and then commit to a full Incinerate farm down. We go for the farm down here. We might end up using our final shield. Yeah, we are going to shield. They do go for Thunder, so that is a great shield usage there. They come in with Talonflame, and we just blind throw a Blast Burn. Definitely should have just waited to see what came in, but we should still be okay here if we're able to swap and catch the charge move, which we're able to do here. Now, can we farm down the Dragonites? The opponent actually very smart play there. Gets the snipe, but we do have that Thunder Punch loaded. Of course, Thunder Punch easily takes out the Dragonite, and now actually we can probably just Incinerate, farm down the Talonflame, and we're able to take that game. Alright, so heading into the next battle, we're going to see Shadow Toucannon once again into a Talonflame. So once again, probably going to go for one Bullet Seed, then look to swap into our Shadow Typhlosion. And again, the opponent staying in, we will be able to reach a Thunder Punch. Excuse me there. Not sure what happened there, but anyways, we are going to grab that shield advantage. We are going to be at back-to-back Thunder Punches, or at least a second Thunder Punch now, but the opponent does try to catch that. So we hold on to the energy. We're going for the Blast Burn. Blast Burn does respectable damage, but they do much that farm us down. We can now come back in with the Toucannon, and we're going to no-shield this. The opponent is just going to go for a Body Slam. So Body Slam not going to do too much damage, and we can go for a full farm down. They come back in with the Talonflame. We can go for one Bullet Seed, fire off that Drill Peck. Drill Peck is going to be shielded, and we can go for a second Drill Peck. Once again, winning CMP here. Drill Peck gets the KO, and their final Pokemon is going to be Credilli, and this should be game over. We've still got a shield, so definitely just going to shield here. Well, no, never mind. I'm completely wrong there. I guess we're not going to shield there. Instead, we're going to look to go for a Flash Cannon. I guess we might as well. We tried to Flash Cannon a Credilli earlier. It didn't work out for us. They did end up shielding. But this, well, we are playing incredibly dangerously here. We overfarm as much as possible for some reason. We finally full send the Flash Cannon, and we take that game. A bit of a bizarre endgame there, making it a lot harder than it needed to be, but into the next battle, we see Shadow Drapion in the lead, so a bit of a tricky Pokemon for this team to deal with. We have seen an Octotail bait already, which we barely hang on to. If we no-shield and it's a Crunch, potentially that just gets the full-on one-shot, so we do respect the damage, and it is the Crunch this time around. We fire off the Drill Peck. Drill Peck is going to connect. It does big damage, but unfortunately, Shadow Typhlosion just barely not able to get that snipe with the Incinerate, and now the opponent able to snipe us with a Shadow Primeape. At this point, this is just going to be a Rage Fist, so we kind of forced a no-shield the first charge move. However, of course, they're going to boost up their attack, so we're actually just going to go straight for the Dragon Claw here. We're not messing around. We need to get the KO, but unfortunately, the opponent is going to shield. However, they get fully farmed down there, and unfortunately, they've got a Zoomer in the back anyway, so going to be a bit tricky for us, but we do still have a little bit of play here if the opponent tries to make a catch and it backfires, but the opponent goes for an Ice Beam. We're now going to be forced to go for that Drill Peck straight away. Drill Peck is going to grab that final shield there. We are now going to overfarm as much as possible. We're at back-to-back Drill Pecks here. So the first Drill Peck, of course, is going to connect, but unfortunately, it doesn't really do enough damage here. A second Drill Peck will be coming through, but it doesn't get the KO there. And of course, from this range, any charge move is going to get the KO, but Ice Beam, super effective, certainly takes out Toucannon, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But into the next battle, we can see more Peko in the lead, so not ideal. We're going to be safe swapping straight away into Shadow Typhlosion, and they're actually going to go straight for a Psychic Fangs here, which is a bit of an interesting play. Not really sure why they wouldn't just go straight for an Aura Will and look to grab a shield there. But anyways, they do debuff our defense, so I guess it does make sense, as now they can come in with the Talonflame, maybe double shield here, and then commit to a farm down. But we do reach a second Thunder Punch, which is huge for the Shadow Typhlosion. That doesn't get the KO though, which is very interesting. But the opponent is going to fire off that charge move straight away. We are going to shield our Toucannon, then look to snipe with the Dragon Breath damage from the Shadow Dragonite, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. They come back in with the Morpeko here, and we can just commit to a full farm down. We're going to no-shield once again, and once again, this is just going to be a Psychic Fangs, which we can tank, and let's see what their final Pokemon is. They actually allow a full farm down there because they've got Superior in the back. And at this point, we farm up to back-to-back charge moves. We're going for the Dragon Claw. I wouldn't be surprised if we just don't end up throwing a move here. No, never mind. We are going to go for a BM of the Superpower, but realistically, it's going to be Toucannon that sweeps this game here, as we can come in. We're at the charge move now. We can actually afford to no-shield this. As the opponent goes for the Aerial Ace, we can go for Drill Peck, and Drill Peck obviously super effective damage. It will deal big damage. It will take out Superior, and we're able to take that game. Now heading into the final battle of this video, I do believe we lead Shadow Toucannon into Regidrago, so not a great lead matchup for us in the slightest. But once again, if they try to throw straight away, we will win CMP, and of course this is not a Shadow Dragonite, so we probably do reach 2 Drill Pecks here. However, they're going to debuff our attack. Are we going to bother shielding? We are actually going to shield this. Then we swap straight away into Dragonite, and unfortunately taking a lot of damage here, but Shadow Dragonite gonna win CMP, gonna grab that shield there, and we do force the final shield from the opponent. So at this point, we probably come in with our Shadow Typhlosion. However, can we actually get a full farm down here before they do reach the next charge move? We come in with the Typhlosion, and Typhlosion just barely missing out on that full farm down there. Agonizingly close, but we're going to have to use our shield as they go for Breaking Swipe, and let's see what they have in the back. They're going to have a Clodsire, so we're farming up to 100 energy here. Not throwing on the best timing, but it doesn't really matter too much. Blast Burn does huge damage. We can fire off a second Blast Burn straight away. Blast Burn will be taking out the Clodsire, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Jellicent, so we're going to bank the Thunder Punch, swap into our Toucannon there. I'm not really sure if I agree with that, because Surf, oh, that does not get the KO. I think they go for an charge on purpose, and that is a huge mistake on the opponent's end, because now we can come in with our Typhlosion, and a Thunder Punch will definitely get the KO after connecting with the Drill Peck. Big mistake on the opponent's end. Thunder Punch gets the KO there, and we're able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.